Peace be upon you, brothers and sisters. This is Saeed Mirza from reason.com, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the believers, about the criteria of the believers in the Quran. And I guess the genesis of this talk is me looking at a verse in the Quran that says, uh, this is chapter 75, verse 2, and I swear by the self-reproaching soul. Now, what does that mean, a self-reproaching soul? A self-reproaching soul is someone who is still has a conscience, basically, and it's alive and kicking. So if they do some evil, then they realize that they have done that evil. It's a good thing to have. A lot of people, their conscience is dead, and once your conscience is dead, then it's game over for you. Your deeds have been made fair to you, and you wander blindly in your transgressions. But for those whose conscience is alive and kicking, and when they do evil, they realize that they have done something wrong, there is still hope for them. Now, kind of a backstory to this is when I first read the Quran when I was 25, so about 15 years ago, and I was a practicing Muslim. I was born and raised in a Muslim household, and when I read the Quran, this one verse really struck me. This is chapter 2, verse 80. And it says, and they say, the fire will not touch us save days numbered. Say thou, have you taken a covenant with God? For God will not fail in his covenant. Or do you ascribe to God what you know not? So Muslims, their belief is that on the day of judgment, Prophet Muhammad will intercede on their behalf. And even if they do enter the fire, it will be only for a short amount of time. I'm sure there's a hadith link to it, but anyway, this is something that I learned from my elders when I was growing up, and I was kind of entrenched in my mind. But here it's the Quran is saying, no, that's not the case. The next verse continues on with saying, verily whoso earns evil and his offenses have encompassed him, those are the companions of the fire, therein they abide eternally. So if you notice, it's not talking about, that this group will enter the fire, or that group will enter the fire. It just says, those whoso earns evil and his offenses have encompassed him, they are the companions of the fire. So, early on, I realized that the Quran actually is talking about the Muslims. It's condemning the Muslims, even though the Muslims, claim to be God's guided people and the chosen people. The fact of the matter is that labels are not what God is interested in. Is God is interested in our actions and our beliefs, and he knows what is in the hearts. So hiding behind labels is not going to save us. And going off of that thought, if you look in the Quran for the labels, al-munafiqun, which is translated as the hypocrites, or the al-kafirun, which is just translated as unbelievers, those who don't believe in the religion of Islam, those who don't accept the religion of Islam, you will notice that in the case of the al-kafirun, it's actually one of the characteristics of this group is that they are arrogant towards the signs of God, and that they are arrogant in the case of submission to God. I mean, Satan is called the al-kafirun in the Quran because he was arrogant towards God, towards God's command, and did not submit, and he considered himself superior to Adam. So this was his characteristic. So in the case of the al-munafiqun, you have them, they don't stand and fight, and they always flip-flopping. So what I'm trying to get at is that these labels, putting them on the side, if you look at the characteristics of a group, I think you will gain a better understanding of what a believer is. A believer is not just someone who says, I believe. It is actually much more than that. And in that regard, I wanted to share with you some verses from the Quran to get you started thinking down this trajectory. So this is chapter 49, verses 14 through 15. The desert Arabs say, we believe. Say thou, you have not believed. But say, we have submitted. But for faith has not entered into your hearts. But if you obey God and his messenger, he will not defraud you of anything of your deeds. God is forgiving and merciful. The believers are but those who believe in God and his messenger. Then doubt not, and strive with their wealth and their lives in the cause of God. It is they who are the truthful. So, submission comes first, and then faith enters the heart later, if God so wills. But again, it's for those who don't. Believers are those who don't doubt. Who don't doubt about God's book and don't doubt about the last day, and who strive with their wealth. They give in charity, or they give in God's cause, and their lives. So they're willing to put their lives on the line as well. They are the truthful. They are the believers. Okay, next set of verses. This is chapter 23, and verses 1 through 11. Successful are the believers, those who in their duty are humble, and those who from vain speech turn away, and those who act upon the purity, and those who preserve their chastity, save with their wives or what their right hands possess, then are they not blameworthy. But whoso seeks beyond that, it is they who are the transgressors, and those who attend to their trusts and their covenant, and those who preserve their duties, it is they who are the heirs. Those who inherit paradise, therein will they abide eternally. By the way, this is Brother Gerrans' translation of Quran, Complete Revelation, and I'm just reading this off reader.quranite.com. Okay, this is another one, chapter 9, verses 111 and 112. God has bought from the believers their lives and their wealth. For that the garden is theirs, they fighting in the cause of God, killing and being killed, a promise binding upon him in the Torah and the Gospel and the Qur'an. And who better fulfills his covenant than God? Rejoice then in your bargain that you have contracted with him, and that is the great achievement. The repentant, the serving, those praising, those journeying, the lowly, those submitting, those enjoining what is fitting, and those forbidding perversity, and the keepers of the limits of God. And bear thou glad tidings to the believers. Okay, this is chapter 8 and verses 2 through 4. The believers are but those who, when God is remembered, their hearts are afraid, and when his proofs are recited to them, it increases them in faith, and in their Lord they place their trust. Those who uphold the duty, and of what we have provided them they spend. It is they who are the believers in truth. They have degrees with their Lord, and forgiveness, and a noble provision. And this is the end of chapter 8, verse 74. And those who heed warning and immigrate and strive in the cause of God, and those who give shelter and help, it is they who are the believers in truth. They have forgiveness and a noble provision. So those are some of the verses that are scattered across the Quran that talk about the characteristics of the believers. There are more verses, but I think you'd have to look in the context a little bit more to gain an understanding of the characteristics of the believers. But it suffices to say that it doesn't make any difference whether you call yourself a believer or a submitter or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever. What matters is what characteristics do you have? Do you have the characteristics of this group or that group? And this is really the dividing line in the Quran. Obviously, it's from God, the Quran, and God knows what is in the hearts of men. So obviously, people do abuse these labels, and they act as sort of the wolf in sheep clothing, and they take over certain groups and try to lead them. And claim to be, this or that they are guided, etc. But God knows what is in the hearts, and God has given us these characteristics for the believers, so we can differentiate between who is actually truthful and who is a liar. Anyway, I hope this video was of some use to you. God willing, until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.